ProdigyConnect has a ton of different mechanisms for getting at the exam questions in the library, and that'll help you with classroom exams, preparing for boards, focusing on specific topics, and more. So let's take a look at it by clicking the Practice Exams button here on the top of the screen. So at first you'll see that the exam format that's selected is Board Simulation Exam, and you'll see a bunch of those listed here. All you have to do is click one and click Begin Exam to start one of the board simulations. Now, the board simulations are all 100 question exams that are formatted by the directions that the NBCRNA provides in their candidate handbook. That means that it has the correct number of questions per category type, all the different types of exam questions that are possible, like image-based, multiple correct response, hotspot questions, and that sort of thing. So this is where you'll go to get a feel of what boards are really like. And I'll actually start one by clicking Begin Exam, because one part I want you to notice is that the exam simulator itself is an exact mimic of what you would see when you go to take your NBCRNA exam. In fact, even some of the buttons here that are not highlighted and are not enabled appear the exact same way on your exam. So somebody may say, well, how come I can't click translation or status or previous or mark a question? It's because you can't do that on the NBCRNA exam either. So right now I'm going to click Quit. I don't want to save my progress, and we'll go back to Practice Exams. So we'll come back to exam based on textbook and chapter last, since that takes just a little bit longer. Here there's one C simulation exam, and that's 240 questions that's balanced in the way that the C simulation exam is. So it's a little bit different from the NBCRNA board exams in that every category is in the same proportion. So equipment is as likely to appear on the exam as general principles, and that's not the case for the simulation exams. We could do questions by specific category, so if you just wanted to focus on cardiac or regional anesthesia, you could do that. You can do questions by specific topic. So this breaks down, say, cardiac or respiratory into all the subcomponents. So we could focus just on antihypertensive medications if we wanted to. We can also do questions by NBCRNA heading. And if I click that, you'll notice that we can choose the NBCRNA heading that we want and choose the number of questions from 10 questions to 170. So I'm going to click Cancel. We'll click Practice Exams again. And we can also focus on something like just calculation questions, just image-based questions, drag and drop, multiple correct response. There's even recently added questions. So we're constantly adding exam questions into the system. If you just wanted to see what was new, then you could click Recently Added Questions, begin that exam, and you'll only see the ones that we've just added into the system. Here you can also click Create Custom Exam, and I'll pick that one because here we could choose, let's say we wanted this to be a 100 question exam, and let's just pick the specific topics that we want. Let's say I wanted to focus on airway, so I'm going to choose Airway Block by double clicking it, Airway Devices, and Airway Management. If I wanted to, I could also, let's see if we scroll down to say Respiratory, and you can see there are a lot of specific topics in here. There's close to 400 that we cover. So let's see if we have anything. And let's say respiratory anatomy and physiology. Then we could begin that exam, and it's going to be 100 questions randomly chosen from just those 4 topics. So if there were more than 100 questions in that exam, if you went back and you recreated this exam, then it would randomly choose another 100 questions from that bank, from just those topics. All right, I'm going to click Practice Exams again, and here we have missed questions. So let's say you took an exam, one of the simulation exams, and you made it an 80, and you had missed 20 questions on that exam. Well, those missed questions are stored here, so you can go back and take just those. Now, there's a video that covers my review, and it's based on those missed questions. So when you click Reset My Review to reset its analysis, you also delete the missed questions exam. So every time you click Reset My Review, it'll also clear out the missed questions exam. Here we have a random quiz creator. So if you just said, just give me 100 questions on anything, you could click Begin Exam and you just get a random selection of questions, no specific topics or anything, just randomly pulled out of the pool of questions. So let's click Practice Exams again, and I'll show you, actually let's start Simulation Exam 1 again. And I'm just going to click a couple of answers here, click Proceed, and now I'd like to save my progress. So I'm going to click Save Exam. It'll automatically populate the exam name here, and I'm going to click Save and Quit. It tells me my exam has been saved, so if I wanted to go back to it at any time, I could go all the way down to the bottom of this list, click View Saved Exams, and here is Simulation Exam 1, that's from today's date, March 11th, and I can see where I also started that same exam on February 10th. So I could resume either one of those by just clicking it and clicking Load Exam. If you wanted to clear some of these out, for example, if I didn't want the one from February, I could select it and click Delete Exam and clear it from the list. All right, so let's cancel and let's go back and look at that last topic to cover, and that is exam based on textbook chapter. So I'm going to click it, and you'll see that we have a default textbook listed here and the chapters from that book below it. Now, if your school requires you to purchase ProdigyConnect, then some schools exercise the option to remove exams by textbook and chapter. So we have a textbook here, and let's say that I had an exam coming up on chapters 6 and 7 from the Nagelhout Nurse Anesthesia book. All I have to do is select those two chapters and click Begin Exam, and it's created a 43 question quiz for me based just on questions that cite those chapters of that textbook. So I'm going to click Quit, and let's take a look at another one. So if I go to exam based on textbook chapter again, you'll see that there are 4 textbooks here. Now the NBCRNA actually uses 17 textbooks. So there are 17 approved textbooks, and we use all 17 of those books in our exams. However, we have these 4 textbooks selected because there's enough questions from essentially every chapter of those textbooks to actually create a quiz. So let's say we wanted to do one on pharmacology. I'm going to choose Stolting's Pharmacology and Physiology. Let's say it was going to be on chapters 9, 11, and 14. I click Begin Exam, and I've got a 36 question quiz from questions that cite those specific chapters of that specific textbook. Having these different options is a great way, not just for boards, but really for classroom exams. If you've got an exam coming up on a specific topic, there are at this time over 4,200 questions in the database to pick from. So there's a lot to draw from. You can practice for an exam on a selected chapter or a selected topic and really get a feel for whether or not you're prepared before you go in to take the exam in the classroom.